Okay, we had, I emailed you last night. We talked a little bit just before we set up this video about what you figured the strengths of your approach to argumentative writing have been at this point, and what some of its limitations are, and where you see yourself going forward from here.
So some of the strengths, we started off with the Stonehenge article, where the students were to be able to pick out what is evidence to cite, and kind of figure out how to cite.
Right.
And that went pretty well. I would say the fallback on that was that the article was dense, and it was about something that the students have never heard of.
Right.
So they were all really curious about Stonehenge, more so than the activity.
The actual example that the article provided of citation of evidence. Right. Yeah. And the vocabulary, as I remember, was quite challenging and difficult.
Yeah.
Some of the concepts. Yeah.
So that took a little bit longer than we expected to get through.
Right. And the purpose of starting with the Stonehenge article as you prepare your students for argumentative writing was what?
We wanted them to be able to find information within the text and then know how to cite it. Right. That was the goal. Right. Was to find information.
And the we being you and your mentor teacher, Pam McCall.
Right. Yeah. And so then today we did the thesis statement. That was our next step. And previously we passed out an article that has a yes or no stance. So it's about celebrities endorsing junk food. One half of the article is arguing yes, celebrities, or is arguing that celebrities should not endorse junk food, and the other half of the article is saying that it's okay. Right. So what we had them do is make a decision if they agreed yes or no beforehand, so that they'd know coming into it.
Oh, so after, so the students had already previewed that Beyonce article?
Right.
Starting with Beyonce and her endorsement of Pepsi.
Right. So we gave it out as homework and said,
I didn't realize that.
Your only homework is to decide yes or no. Circle it. That's it. Good. So that they would have that in their minds already. And then today we started with the thesis worksheet. Right. I thought it went well. I think that it was important. I think they did really well on writing their thesis. I could tell there was confusion at the beginning, but I thought that it worked well to do one that was already done, having an example that was already done that we explained the process through. Right. Then having one that they did, but we did it as a class. Right. And then having one that they did independently.
So using that, here's an example, here's how we can work together as a class on the driving age one, and then this third one you're working independently on whether cell phones should be banned from high school and middle school.
And middle school. And we also, it wasn't all independent, we still brought it back and to check in and make sure that they were on the right path. Right. And then what homework is, well, we ended up getting to it in class, but what homework is to using your claim on the Beyonce article, write your thesis statement using the steps that we just took. So they created the box, the chart that we had been making, and then they wrote their thesis statement from there.
What about the vocabulary that was used in the thesis statement handout? Very unusual vocabulary where it said ID, meaning what was your topic, and then claim, which is more common vocabulary, than directions, which I've never heard of before. Really meaning one of the reasons that you would cite to support your claim.
That was my least favorite part of the handout. And I even skipped over other parts that were on there.
Yes, I know she treated that lightly.
Yeah, they had a little mathematical equation for it, and I didn't like that either. I think that could be used maybe in a more advanced, like older class that is already familiar with this, and so that stuff kind of like they get it already, rather than this being the first time it's introduced, and then they're throwing out all these things words at you, and then a plus sign and an equal sign is added in there. It's like what?
Rhetoricians tend to be somewhat fond of mathematical formulas, for better for worse.
So that was my least favorite part of that handout.
Yeah. So how did you deal with the somewhat specialized vocabulary when you taught today? Just because the people watching the video won't have the advantage that I have of actually watching.
So I would just
your
explain
class.
it as I said it. So the first one is identification. So I said that's what we call, we're calling it identification. That's what is the topic? What are we talking about?
Right, yeah.
And then for the claim, I said, what do you think about it? That's what you believe, what you think, your opinion.
Right.
And then for the third one, direction, I said those are going to be your reasons that for your opinion.
Yeah.
If you think cell phones should be banned, now tell me why.
One final question, Cory. You had said, when you said, I don't want you to use I in your assertions, you said no one cares what you think. But on the other hand, you said, what is your opinion on, say, the question of whether Beyonce should be someone who sponsors a soft drink like Pepsi?
Right.
And your opinion is what you think.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of stems back to when we did the Stonehenge article.
Right.
And we were talking about proper or appropriate citations.
Right.
And whether or not it's valid. So I tried to make the connection back to the Stonehenge article about, okay, who were the people that we thought were valid, and that we can quote as citations. And, and the students said astronomers and scientists. I said, right, okay. So then who are the people that we can cite for this? And then you have a professor listed and things like that.
Right.
So the distinction I'm making is that not that we don't care about your opinion, but that when you write, I think, or I feel, or I believe, you lessen the strength of your argument.
Right. Or maybe we do care what you think if we believe that what you think is backed up solidly with evidence to support your point of view. So there are lots of people that we say, yes, I'm actually quite interested in what they think and what their opinion is. But part of my reason for thinking highly of their opinion is that I'm so confident that their opinion comes out of long experience, or maybe just a history of thoughtfulness, that they've demonstrated in other spheres of life, prior to my hearing their opinion. Whatever.
And we also wanted to make sure that they don't use it in their writing. That was like the basis for saying it. Not that we don't care what they think or what they feel, but more like take it out and it's still strong, you know? So that's what I just kept trying to say over and over, because they write that a lot. I think that, or they'll write, should cell phones be banned in high school? No. I think that cell phone, like that. And I said, okay, just everything you just wrote, cross out until you get to cell phones should be whatever. You know?
Yes. Although cell phones, it was a harder argument to make based on research, because there wasn't evidence that they could cite of the usual sort. In other words, it was more opinion. You don't know. You say, well, I think cell phones should not be banned because they're used in emergencies, but clearly we didn't use cell phones when cell phones weren't yet invented.
Right.
There were still emergencies.
Well, what we were trying to do is still get them to make the strong claim of cell phones should not be banned because they may need to be used for emergencies.
Right.
And that's a much stronger argument than I think cell phones should not be banned because, just the strength of the argument.
Right. So if I can just rephrase what I think I've heard from you, you like the progression of exercises so far, insofar as it's teaching students how to make a claim of one sort or another, and then how to substantiate or back up that claim with evidence or with reasons that are supported by evidence.
Right, so we haven't gotten there yet.
That's right. And you don't like the rather unusual specialized vocabulary that this particular handout that you use today with its ID, claim, directions, that particular vocabulary, but you've learned to override that vocabulary with more commonsensical descriptions of your own. Right. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.